Right, Coco Gauff versus Jasmine Paolini for the WTA Stuttgart 2025 quarterfinals. This is an interesting one. And before we get into it, remember to hit that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you're listening on podcast platform. Okay, two former Roland Garros finalists go head-to-head in an intriguing matchup. The head-to-head is 2-0 in favour of Coco Gauff. They've never played on clay though, so not really too much to take from that. But what I will say is that they have similar-ish styles. There are some differences, especially on the serve, because Coco has a much bigger serve than Paolini. But if we take the serve out of the equation, which is, I mean, it's a big part of someone's game, but just for a moment, bear with me. They both are, I would say, counterpunchers. Right? They play with a lot of, I would say, a lot of height. Not safety, I think safety is the right word. But they play with a lot of consistency from the baseline. A lot of spin. You know, both players have got solid backhands, two-handers. Or the forehand wing, you know, Coco, we know she's had issues at times with the forehand, but on clay she has more time on the forehand. And it just, I think it's really a marriage made in heaven for her playing on clay, because it just means that she doesn't have those worries of being rushed as much on a clay court. It just means she can set up nicely. And we know that when she sets it up and when she hits it sweetly, it's a real weapon, no doubt. The backhand is ultra reliable, always has been. For Paolini, I think she's reliable off both wings, hits with a lot of topspin, tries to play, an aggressive brand of tennis, but plays with a lot of margin, I think is what I was trying to say earlier. And as is Coco for the most part. They're both great movers, really good returners as well, both players. So those are a couple of the things to talk about. Gauff is a very good volleyer. That's something that she's got, I think, that Paolini doesn't have in her arsenal. And the serve aspect. And those are two big, the serve especially is a big thing to talk about. But one thing I will say is that Paolini on clay, her game is just so suited to it. Just because of the high topspin game. I think with Gauff, she hits a lot of topspin on the forehand side, but the backhand actually can be quite flat at times. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just means that on clay specifically, she maybe doesn't get quite as much purchase as some other players would, but she's super accurate with it and very precise. In terms of how it will play out, I mean, I talked about Coco's serve, but her serve is not going to be super potent on clay. Not as it would be on a grass or a hard court. I think Coco, her game is just a little bit better than Paolini's. I think matchup-wise, it's not a good matchup for Paolini because she's not going to get probably as many errors from someone like Gauff as she would from, say, I don't know, a Rybakina or an Alexandrova, someone who's a big hitter who Paolini will be able to really frustrate. And, defensively, she's really good. Both players are. Paolini's probably not going to be able to frustrate Gauff as she would against some other players because Gauff's shot tolerance is just as good as Paolini's, potentially even better. I think the only way she can potentially win is if she really attacks the forehand side and goes quite big with heavy topspin, really hits through the court and hopes that she gets some shorter balls from Gauff and she comes forward. Paolini maybe plays with a bit less margin, a bit braver, because on her own service game, she's going to have to really fight for them. And I think this is where it becomes interesting. She's going to have to be the one dictating, I think, in the points, Paolini. Really playing off the front foot and trying to... Yeah, and I think, for me, I think in trying to be the one that is in control at all times. Because I think, she can defend against a lot of players on tour, and she will get the win because she just defends so well. She scampers, she hustles, she works hard from the back of the court. Against Gauff, I just don't think that's going to get it done. For Gauff, I think she can win even if Jasmine employs that tactic, I think it will be hard, and I think Jasmine has a good chance if she does employ that tactic and executes it well. But for Gauff, I think if she's playing on the front foot, then it's very difficult for me to see Paolini winning, because I don't think she's going to be able to win off the back foot. Because if Gauff does start making a few errors playing on the front foot, she will just give herself more margin. And she will, rather than maybe taking the ball 1 meter behind the baseline, she'll take it 2 or 3. And she would just say, fine, I'm happy to grind with you from the back of the court. I'm happy to battle it out. And I'm confident that my shot tolerance is just as good, if not better than yours. And I think I can, I can stick with you and I can actually best you in this aspect. Coming to the net's an interesting one, because Gauff's got really good hands. And actually, it might not be a bad tactic against Paolini if they do get into longer rallies and Gauff is able to get Paolini off on the defensive. Coming to net and transitioning, I think, is actually a very good ploy to add some variety, mix it up and finish off the point earlier, to make sure that she's not having to constantly just grind from the baseline with Jasmine. Jasmine doesn't really have those tools, I'll say, like the drop shot, the slice. That's not really her game. Gauff does have a drop shot. I don't think it's incredibly effective, if I'm being honest. It's not a bad drop shot, but it's not incredible. She could use it, but Jasmine's very quick up to the ball, so that might not be the best ploy. Look, I'm going to go with Gauff. I will go with Gauff in straight sets. I think she's found her mojo back, and I think Jasmine is going to have a really good clay court swing. I hope she does, because she's such a great competitor. But I just think the matchup is not good for her here. Let me know in the comment section below what you think and why. Thanks very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and we'll see you in the next video.